When I think back in time of all the ways I could have gotten in trouble, it scares me to death.
Agent Power Huddle is a daily jumpstart, giving you all the tools you need to create an amazing real estate career. Led by top experts in the field, you'll learn how to sell more houses in less time while creating the life you want. Welcome to the Agent Power Huddle.
Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Today, we are going to talk about 10 ways to lose our license. And, we're going to talk about maybe not even lose it, but get into a lot of trouble. The longer I have been in this business, the more terrified I am of, my past, how much trouble I could have gotten into. And I kind of want to hit on some of these things today. So let's let everybody join, and I'll introduce myself. And Lori in Park City, how are you? Anyways, okay, guys. So we're going to talk about how to lose your license 10 different ways. There is a NAR course on this, and I suggest everybody jump in and take this course as often as they can. And state specifically, I think this is the most valuable course that anybody can take. It'll scare the absolute pants off of you. Colorado's 10 Ways to Lose License course. It's probably one of my favorite courses, legit. I like to take that course because I like to hear all the different ways that I could have gotten in trouble had I done something wrong. And I don't like to do anything wrong. I'm a little bit of a control freak. I've been in business since 1999. And, literally when I think, I've already said this like once today, but when I think back in time of all the ways I could have gotten in trouble, it scares me to death. 20 years ago, when I started the business, I was fearless, absolutely fearless. I would just go out and I would just get the business, I would do the things. And now every time something comes up that's a little bit squirrely, I get a little nervous and I take pause and I think it through because I'm hearing a lot of things happening out there in this world that, for lack of better words, that I've already said 3 times today, terrifying. So, Katrina is on the call this morning. She is going to be helping with comments, and if you raise your hand or anything like that, feel free to jump in. That's the way I roll. I don't need to just keep talking. I love to stop and answer something or have a discussion about something. And, 10 ways to lose your license is a huge, huge, huge subject. So I don't even know if we're going to get through it in 30 minutes today. We may pick it up and do part 2 next Thursday. Let me know in the comments as we go if there's anything that I kind of hit on that I need to address next week or I need to address at the end of the call. Please do so. Hi, Katrina. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Thursday. Happy February.
I know it's February 1st. Can you believe it?
Oh my gosh. Weren't we just saying, I'm still saying Happy New Year, by the way. So
yeah.
I feel if I haven't seen you in person, then you're getting a Happy New Year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I haven't seen you in person, so you can say Happy New Year.
Yes.
We're how many miles apart are we? Like 2,000? How cool is this?
I know. So cool.
Okay. So let's jump in. So in the comments, I am going to put wherever it is. Get down here. Maybe not chalk. Is that chalk? Yeah. I don't know. I'll see if I can figure it out before the end of this call. But I would like to drop in the NAR course so that if you're thinking about taking a course that you jump in and take it. I do suggest you call your board and see if there's a state-specific one, because I might bring up stuff in this call that doesn't apply to your state. And so let's just keep that, going and make sure everybody understands that every state's a little bit different. But I know that pretty much everything I'm going to say should apply. There are the standard ways of losing your license or getting into a lot of trouble that are on the NAR site. And we'll just run through those really quick and not get into them. And then I want to kind of jump into one or two of them. So mishandling money. I don't deal with money. I let my broker deal with money, and I'm not a property manager. I would rather stick my head in a car door and slam it because it scares me. Well, in Colorado, by the way, property management is the #1 lawsuit. So, yeah, I like to stay away from that. But mishandling money. So if you're commingling, anything like that, that's #1. That's 1 on NAR's course. 2 is non-disclosure and misrepresentation. 3, mortgage fraud. Oh, I'm kind of going to enjoy getting into that one. Criminal conviction. So if you got into trouble with the law and you didn't tell your board and you didn't tell NAR, and there are some things that you can't have a license with. Non-cooperation with investigation. Well, if you do get into trouble and you try to hide it and you don't answer, you can get into trouble that way. Incompetence. This is another big one I'm going to talk about. Are you selling out of your area? Are you doing things that you don't really know what to do? I also like to put incompetence in with the mortgage part of losing your license. No supervision. You're not supervising the people underneath you. This doesn't apply to a lot of people on this call, but if you're a employee broker or a team lead or, all kinds of, you can get in trouble that way. So be careful and know what you're getting into before you take people on. Fiduciary responsibility. That's another one. We can hit on that one later. I find that with a lot of, I'm not saying new agents or younger agents, I don't know how to word it correctly. I find with some agents that I run into in my career, they want to make everybody happy. They want to, get in and make sure that the buyer's happy, the seller's happy, but they forget that they have a fiduciary responsibility when they signed an agency. So we can hit on that. And then pretending to be an attorney. Yeah. This one, 20 years ago, we used to be able to write, Trina, what's the word? I'm going blank. We used to be able to write seller carries. And I don't even know. When did the bar or whatever? Anyways, we used to be able to do that. And the other day I was up, it wasn't the other day. It was a few months ago. I was getting ready to sell property up in Buena Vista, Colorado, and it's a commercial building. And we needed a seller carry on it. And that was interesting because it had been 10 years since we had talked about even doing seller carries because interest rates had been so good. And then all of a sudden, we're back into it. And I called my broker and I'm like, all right. I knew I couldn't, but like in my mind, in my old school mind, I thought, well, I can. And he was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it, Jenn. So I didn't. And then
I have a story for you on that one when we come to it. So.
I know. So maybe we'll get to that one today and maybe we will get to that one next week. But I do think, and then the last one before I keep talking, the last one is licensing requirements. Now, I have an opinion on this and I could probably talk for 30 minutes on that. Not regarding like what people should take and the classes they should take, but the way that we store our licensing. Because if they call you and they want to see what you have done, and if you hit your credentials for the year, soapbox. I feel like it should all be housed into one place, and agents shouldn't have to go searching all of their files. But whatever. I'll get off my soapbox. All right. So, is everybody there? Oh, I lost you. Okay. Oh, I thought my Zoom went away. So, Katrina, I think maybe we should jump into outside of doing business outside of your expertise first. What do you think?
Yeah. So doing business outside of your expertise, there's so many legalities that come up with all of that. So for instance, I don't do a lot of land property. But yeah, people will approach me about that. And I always am apprehensive. Like, I don't want to discuss well water. I don't want to discuss what easements and all the other things that come with land and usage rights and all of that stuff. And if I'm not an expert in it, and then I go to sell it, and then it comes back to haunt me, like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to refer that out to someone who's a specialist.
So along those lines, I would love to hit a few stories because I think you can go and you can take the class and you can, put it on a Zoom and just get your requirements. But unless you're hearing real life stories, it may not sink in. So I'd love to tell you a few stories about recent things and a really old thing that happened in Denver once. I should have done my research and pulled up the golf course name, but okay. Once upon a time in Denver, there was a golf course and an agent sold it. I think they sold it for $2 million. I'm just going to make up numbers here because I don't know the golf course name anymore. I can't remember it. And I don't know the price, right? But an agent sold the golf course and did not address water rights. They assumed that the water rights would transfer with the sale of the golf course. So, long story short, agent buyer closes on the golf course and buyer moves in, starts to water the greens, and the water isn't working. So he calls up the agent and he says, hey, the water's not working. What do I do? And they find out that they did not transfer the water rights and the previous owner owns it. And the previous owner didn't actually want to sell the golf course because they were in trouble, financial trouble. So what is the value of a golf course without water?
0.
It's not good. So that buyer ended up selling back the golf course to the seller for like $500,000 or something less than what they bought it for the week before. Do you think that agent ended up in front of? Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I heard that story. And I don't know if anybody can relate on this, but I heard that story. And anytime I'm dealing with land or anytime I'm dealing with anything, and I know that there's water rights involved, I always get as much information. I will make sure I'm practicing in my lane. And so, yeah, that's an example of a way that we can lose our license. Yeah. We recently had one in Colorado that had to do with land, and it was down, I want to say, in Pueblo. I'm not really sure. But it was down in Pueblo, and an agent had a buyer, sold some land because they wanted to build like a compound where they could grow stuff. Anyway, come to find out, they closed, and they're not allowed to build anything on it because it's protected land. And the agent had no clue and didn't do the research. And so, yes, that agent got into some serious trouble here in Colorado. So not just land, though. So I don't know, how many of you guys have different areas that have different like special tax or community tax or stuff like that?
So a big one here is in Oakland. So the Bay Area, we have lots of little cities that are all very close to each other. 10, 15, 20 minutes, you can be in a different city. And in the city of Oakland, which is a fairly large city here in the Bay Area, they have a sidewalk ordinance and a sewer lateral ordinance that are not in the surrounding city. So if you're an agent that doesn't know that in those areas, your client can then be hit with a huge, like $15,000 to $20,000 bill at the end if those things haven't been addressed.
Oh, no thanks. And that's sort of like in Summit County. So you say Summit County in Colorado, agents pull back in fear because, there's different ordinances, like you can't sell a condo to have it rent for short term or long term. I think there's a 1% tax or something. Please don't quote me. I stay out of Summit County unless unless I'm doing something really specific that I know how to do. There's like a 1% transfer fee. I've heard of an agent that only charged their buyer 1%, like they gave back the rest, and then they closed up in a county here in Colorado, and come to find out they're sitting at the closing table and there was a 1% transfer tax. For the total sale. So that agent ended up working for free, which leads me into another problem. So do you ever want to talk about, Katrina, with the errors and omissions insurance?
Oh, yeah. So errors and omissions has come back to bite me once in my 22 years in real estate.
Oh, this is new. I didn't know this, guys.
Well, it goes along with the story that I shared with you before about, at the time, I wasn't a mortgage broker and helping negotiate a note that I didn't realize I was helping negotiate. And the errors and omissions was like, yeah, we can't protect you with this one here. Like, oh.
Yeah. Errors and omissions, I mean, thank goodness that we have it. But did you know, and I think everybody should go and find their errors and omissions policy, and they should pull it out and they should read it. I mean, how many of us take it for granted that we're housed under a brokerage and we have errors and omissions, but we don't actually know
what does that cover?
What does they cover and what is out of pocket?
Right.
So many errors and omissions insurance, like if you get called to an arbitration, if you get anything, they're automatically charging you $2,500. I mean, there's a lot of policies like that. But my point that I really wanted to get to is, like in that situation with the one up in Summit County, where they had to do a 1% transfer, whatever, and the agent missed it, and so he ended up having to give his whole commission. Or in another situation, you're selling for your brother, or you're selling for your mom, or you're selling for your sister, or your cousin, or your best friend, and you're like, I won't charge you a commission.
That's right.
Yeah. You a lot of times I'll read your policy. You don't have any coverage, right? So if something happens, you close, everything's fine, everything's great. Something happens to that house, buyer files a complaint, and you realize that you have to do an errors and omissions claim, you may not have coverage. So you might be out of pocket, right?
Then didn't that happen to someone you know?
It's happened. It's not to me, but it has happened.
No, but someone you know. Didn't that happen? Like they represented their father, mother, or something, and
yes. So, I think it was like a brother and the sister-in-law bought a house, and I think this happened in Florida, and the agent didn't charge a commission.
Okay.
Just like on the settlement statement. I don't know how they did it. They just credited the whole thing or something. And so it showed that there was no commission whatsoever to the agent. And then something happened with that house, and the sister-in-law, got sideways and filed a complaint, which triggered Arizona emissions. And then they found out there was no coverage for that. And the sister-in-law sort of won, and the agent who had done it for free ended up having to pay her brother and sister-in-law, out, and got in trouble, like, with the board. So don't quote me there. I don't remember which state. I had a lot of people on my database, right? So Arizona emissions, and that brings me to another point, and I don't like to talk commissions, and I'm not going to talk commissions, but if you're doing reduced rates commissions, you really need to consider the math of it. And I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are. If you're doing a reduced rate commission, am I even allowed to say that? I may not. I might get in trouble for saying that. Okay. So if you do, I don't even know how I can relay this to you correctly without saying those words, but do your math. If you sold a $500,000 house and your commission was $5,000, and you had to pay the government, we always set our money aside because our companies don't set our taxes aside for us, right? So we set our tax money aside. If you had an Arizona emissions claim and your Arizona emissions policy immediately charged you $2,500, right? And let's say you did the listing. So you paid back your marketing of $1,000 or $1,500. You set aside your 30%. And then you got an Arizona emissions claim.
You're negative.
You're negative. So when you're taking on business as a newer agent, as an experienced agent, please understand your math. It might be quantity that you need to do if you're going to do those kind of listings. But anyways, I don't want to get on commissions because, it's another thing that scares the pants out of me, saying the wrong thing and ending up in front of, somebody, and I don't ever want to do that. So, anybody have any questions on being outside of their expertise, or do they have a story? Anybody in the chat?
I always refer to the people. Yeah. I always refer. Out of town, I always.
Yeah, just you're referring.
Yeah. Oakland is for Katrina, for sure. You're such a nice agent. I just cannot imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a lot.
Oh, but the whole story is epic. But go ahead, Katrina. I'm sorry.
One thing I wanted to bring up when you were talking about money and mishandling funds, one thing that people don't think about is finding out there are some people out there that charge for buyer representation and upfront fee. Yes. And in some states, some areas that is allowed, and others it's not. And so finding that out, I have known people to lose their license or get a restricted license because they're charging a $500 fee up front to represent a buyer, like even just a consulting fee before taking them out to look at property. Before that, they'll charge a fee up front for that. And they'll say, oh, well, I'll credit it to you on the back end once you're actually in contract or something like that. But being aware of if that's allowed in your area.
Yes. And that's scary to me because we have contracts, right? Okay, sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Let's roll back the speed on my words there a little bit. But, in Colorado, we have an agency contract, and in it has, what you're charging, if you're charging a retainer, how you're charging a retainer. And it just blows my mind that other states don't have that. Inspection periods drive me crazy in other states too. But that's a whole different subject. It kind of blows my mind that we don't have retainers across America, and that we don't charge them.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So
Suma, you're right. Suma just put in the chat that even transaction coordination fees, that we're not necessarily supposed to charge that. It's area specific or state specific if you're allowed to charge that, charge those fees.
yeah, which brings me to another opinion back to those transactions in which, you're pushing those numbers. I feel like you should be able to charge them indirectly to the buyer or the seller. We're going to go down the rabbit hole, and I don't want to do that. But like, there's one state out there that listing agents write that the buyers have to pay for a transaction coordination fee, and I don't get that, because don't buyers have their own, like, buyers agents have their own transaction coordinator? Like, blows my mind how we do stuff differently all over the United States. So if you have a 10 ways to lose your license or get into a lot of trouble class in your state, I suggest you don't just look for it. I think you run and you take it, because it's a really, really, really important class for everybody to take. So, anyways, so where are we? What time are? Oh, we're at 9:26, and I only got through 2. Oh my! I didn't even hit those really good. I don't know. I don't think I can do the mortgage one. The quoting rates. I really, really want to hit this one.
We have time. I have time. You can do that.
Well, we have a hard stop in 3 minutes.
Yeah. I have a tendency of running over, and Autumn and Jesse might come after me if I don't. But I promise you that next week we will start with quoting rates and mortgage fraud, and building in closing costs or building in down payments. Don't do it. We'll start with that whole subject next week, and we'll try to hit a few more of these. But, today we got selling outside of our expertise. It looks like that this subject could go on. 10 Ways to Lose Your License could go on for maybe my whole month of February. I don't know. Tell me if you like it in the comments. Tell me where you're from. Tell me if there's anything you think I need to cover in the future or you'd like to see me cover regarding this subject. Yeah. I'm Jenn, by the way. I'm Jennifer Sells. I'm in Denver, Colorado. Katrina is my today. And
yes, I am in the San Francisco Bay Area. I specialize in San Leandro, Oakland markets. And I'm both a real estate and a mortgage broker. So I'm looking forward to us doing that topic so we can kind of go down that rabbit hole a little bit.
So next week might just be 100% that. I want to just say that I was originally licensed in 1999. I got my independent level in 2008. I know enough to get me in trouble and to terrify the crud out of me every time I do a transaction anymore. And I think that agents really do need to step back and think about what they're doing, and especially what they're saying on the real estate forums. The reason I brought this whole subject to the Agent Power Huddle today is because I watch these real estate forums and I'm like, oh, what are you guys doing? What are you saying? I think we have an obligation to protect our industry, and I would love to be part of that and to help all of us through. So yeah, I can't wait. And, I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.